We started the eConversation series. We started in 2018. They are hosted by the Rural Campus Connection Program. And I'm excited that we have so many people joining the call today. So I'm glad you all could make it, although we have load shedding hitting us again and other issues. Okay, so today we want to talk about using blended learning tools and videos in university teaching. So we want to discuss some approaches of using current state technologies and videos in particular, and how they can change the classroom. And we have two speakers today. Our first speaker will be Dr. Justin Pringle. Justin is a lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. He's in the Department of Civil Engineering. His research is in environmental fluid dynamics, but he is also a passionate teacher and has a little bit of experience using blended learning approaches. Our second speaker will be Elne van Niekerk. Elne has a background in corporate communication, and she is working at Northwest University in the Center for Teaching and Learning, and she's helping staff and students with technology and e-learning approaches. Okay, so we will have the two presentations first, and then we have time for discussion. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you can raise your hand. So you're also welcome to ask during the presentation. And please use the chat area. The button is on the lower right in call chat. And then raise a hand using by typing /hand as indicated on the welcome slide as well. And we also will collect questions on the Etherpad. So on the slide that is showing at the moment, you see the link to the Etherpad we're going to use for this presentation, for this event. And if you go there onto the Etherpad, it's also copied into the chat area in video. You can type your questions under questions and comments from the audience, and we will then go through these questions in the discussion session. So you can start type there already during the presentations as well. Okay, and I also want to remind you that you please mute your microphone when you are not speaking, so we avoid any background noises. And then when you want to speak, so when we ask you to speak, when you raise the hand, for example, you're going to need to unmute yourself first. All right, are there any questions before we start? Okay, if everything is fine. Justin, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, then I will stop my screen sharing because you're going to share something. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll share.
I hand over to you. Okay.
Cool. Okay, let me set this up. Okay, so I'm just going to try and get this to work. I think that should be sharing, right?
Yes, it's working. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And it's sharing full screen?
It depends on, one can undock the share or, yeah. It's fine. You can go.
Okay, no, that's cool. All right, so let me just go back. So thanks again for inviting me to this talk. I've been pretty excited to actually share some of the stuff we've been doing at UKZN. And really what I wanted to discuss today was the concept of trying to reimagine or reinvent education. So this concept is something that myself and a couple of colleagues in the civil engineering department at UKZN have been following the guys at MIT and Harvard about, and they've really come up with some passionate ideas of completely reinventing education from the ground up. And I'll discuss some of the reasons why we should think about reinventing education. So I wanted to, instead of the usual laying out an outline in terms of a bunch of sections, what I wanted to do is just raise quite a couple of questions that could help split up this talk and help us discuss this in a better way. And the first is, when was the last major change in education? So if you think back to, like, say, 500 years ago, people were giving lectures in these massive, well, not massive back then, but large lecture venues with a lecturer at the front of the class and students all attending in the auditorium. And I want to question, how has that changed and why hasn't it changed? If you look at technology around us, everything is changing all the time, but it seems like education is stuck in something. And so I firmly believe, and along with the guys at MIT and Harvard, that we need to completely overhaul the whole system and re-look at it and tear it apart and come up with a better idea. And then, one of the key issues I think that's causing this or driving this motive to change education is the concept of massification. So that is, an international problem. It's not only something that we experience in South Africa, but the goal with education really should be to share knowledge and share it to everyone in the world. And how do we do this in these old university-style systems? We can't house everyone in one lecture venue. And then where we need help from some of the administrators and course teams, and then how, I just want to raise the question that how can we succeed in actually doing this, and should we even do this? Okay, so just as a disclaimer, so I think Katrine's already mentioned this. I am an engineer, fluid dynamicist. I work in civil engineering. I have limited experience in any sort of postgraduate courses in teaching. I have done a little bit. Most of my students are engineers, and so I deliver my content, it's specialized around the engineer and scientist. But I strongly believe, this is where creativity lies in when you don't necessarily have a fundamental, you don't necessarily have a educational training or something to that extent. If you look at some of the great mathematicians and physicists, many of them didn't have physics degrees or mathematics degrees where they came up with pretty complex solutions. So I first wanted to, the first thing that came to mind was this famous parable about the blind man and the elephant, when I started to think about how we could reinvent education. And the parable goes that, there's an elephant and a bunch of blind men are trying to, figure out what this thing is. So to some people, the elephant might be a round ball. To other people, it might be something with a long trunk or hairy tail or something like that. And I think our approach to reinventing education is at the moment is somewhat like this. So we have a bunch of different people, different ideas, but trying to come together. But really, the elephant in the room is the reinvention of education. So in order for us to get a good idea on how to do this, we need to be talking to each other so we get an idea of what education really is nowadays. Okay, so again, on this concept of has education changed? So if you look at an old picture from, I just ripped this quickly from the web. If you look at an old picture of a lecture venue back in, I think this was in the 70s, you can see pretty much no difference to what you see today. So this is a picture of one of our lecture venues at UKZN. Apart from the picture itself being in color, what has actually changed? And you could raise the question, how much are these students sitting in this venue actually learning? Yeah, they're sitting, listening to someone talk about something which, is almost like a rock concert in a way, but it's completely, I would argue that it's irrelevant. They're not learning anything. They're just being delivered content. And so, we could use this time instead of sitting and listening to someone talk and deliver content, after which you need to then go and sit through it and work through the material, you could use that time so much more constructively. And that's coming from my engineering background, where I'm always wanting to optimize everything. Okay, so what is our response been to massification so far, specifically in this country? Massification is obviously a massive resource demand, and we can't simply make these lecture venues bigger. We're having these problems now at UKZN, where the number of students are actually bigger than the actual size of the lecture venues that we have. So it puts a huge stress on your resources. I mean, small courses are now having to be taught, 3-4 times a week, and that takes away from the lecturer's time. And then, you can then begin to question how that is affecting the actual quality of the student's education. And this spirals, when you talk about having to mark 600 scripts, multiple choice is great, but to help with that, but does it really promote deep learning? And if you look at how many, there's been some research articles that have come out in the last couple of years showing how, there's been a massive increase in the student numbers, but really the number of staff in the universities has stayed pretty stagnant. So your staff to student ratio is just ginormous. So in response to that, this concept of a MOOC, which is a massive open online course, was developed, and this was an international response to trying to reinvent education, but I think it was developed in about 2012, 2013, but it hasn't really worked. I was actually just reading an article now, and the guys were talking about, I think last year there was a success rate of 6%, so most of your courses you'd only get 6% people completing the course, and I think the latest statistics were about 3% this year, or this beginning part of the year, something like that. But anyway, the point is that you're getting very few people actually completing these courses. So has the MOOC really started to reignite education? Some people might argue it depends where you look from, and the question arises, can we apply what we learned from a MOOC at a small scale? So MOOCs are commonly delivered on an online platform, and I think largely the failure has been because people were just simply recording lectures and then dumping them online. So they weren't actually creating the content with the students in mind. And it turns out that thanks to the guys at MIT and Harvard, we can actually take what we've learned from a MOOC in terms of online delivery and apply it at a small scale. So that is creating course content around students, where the students in small focus groups work through the material in a instructed manner. So, where you would have perhaps physical contact with a lecturer and a tutor who is delivering the course to the students. Okay, so the way that MIT and Harvard have done this is through the edX platforms. So I'm not sure how many people are actually have heard of edX, but to those who haven't, edX is I think it initially started as a MOOC, that's a massive open online course, and it was developed by MIT and Harvard, and it's really just an online platform to create course material and deliver it in a completely different way to what we currently use at most varsity systems. I think we have some, I think every varsity in South Africa is using something slightly different, but we at UKZN use Moodle. But I strongly think that we should be looking at something like edX, which has been developed for with the students in mind. And the advantages with edX is that it's been developed by the top guys in the world who've been putting their minds to this, and it's open source. So it's now being, the society is contributing to this whole platform. So it's tried and tested. It's not just necessarily dumping course content online. It's specifically designed to reinvent the whole education system. So it is one of the many ideas that are out there, apart from the fact that we need to change the whole the actual physical structure of a university, but in terms of delivering the content. And as I've mentioned, that the content is designed around the student with an active or blended learning approach. So the guys at edX have a strong argument that what we need to do is reinvent education and turn it into some type of gamification. So what you see now is some of the videos where what we have created. This is a student working through material on edX where they can plot some mathematical graph and play around with it. And we can turn education into a type of gamification. So students can play around with things and see how things work. They can look at the derivatives of functions for engineers, and they can actually figure out if I move something from A to B, what happens. So that is kind of what you see in this video. And so what we did is well, I'm using the term we loosely. I did this entirely by myself. Is to to use the OpenEdX software and install it on a server and get it up and running for UKZN. So that took a bit of motivating, but anyway, we got it up and running. And so far, this is what we call in UKZNX platform is. So at the moment, we're just running 3 courses, and that's the technical communication course for first-year engineers. So this is quite an interesting course. Well, this is quite interesting because we've just started this course online now, and as you're aware of all the student protesting that's gone on, we have had students in 3 days. In about 4 days, we've had over 25% of the students enrolling on this course by themselves. Obviously, we instructed them to do that, but they are now going through this course content, and the computer is marking, the algorithm is marking their assignments as we speak. So this has allowed students to actually first-year students to start playing around with the course material before lectures have officially started. Well, they did start, but obviously put on hold with the strikes. And an interesting spin-off is in our fluids course, which is, we haven't mentioned it to anyone yet in civil engineering, but some student has stumbled across it just by browsing the server, and he is actually enrolled and working through the material already, even though we haven't announced it. So it's kind of changing the way students are working, and this is pretty cool and exciting. And then the last course that we're running is, well, we ran for the first time with edX, was this mathematical systems course. So this is our pioneer course, and this is where this whole blended learning approach started. So we've had some success with this. The students initially found it quite difficult because we constructed the learning environment around blended learning and active learning. So the course content was online and it was interactive. So instead of a 45-minute lecture, we would break up the lecture into the components, or the fundamental components of that lecture, get the students to work through some of the stuff as they move through the course content. And we would then be in the LAN working through the stuff with them. So where they had any problems, they could raise it immediately and get feedback. And I think what's really cool about this edX approach is that the students can get feedback instantly. So they don't have to wait for something to be 20 days for it to be graded. They can get feedback instantly, which I think is useful for students these days. Okay, so where do we need help? Well, we have to, I think, redefine what we mean by the course team. And what I mean by this is, if you look at the guys behind edX, so this is a typical course team, you can see a huge number of people that go into this. So it's not just about the lecturer anymore, it's about software engineers, it's about tutors, it's a whole team of administrators, and it's a whole team of people that go into creating this course. And I think we have to completely change the way we think about courses now, and if we want to apply this blended learning approach, we need this type of, we need to develop these type of resources. So I think, one way that this could be done is, obviously you're not going to have one large number of, one large course team for each course, but what you could do is you could have the lecturer focusing on the course material for all the different courses, and then, you could split tasks amongst the course team. So at the moment, we've grown our course team from being just solely me. I have some of my postgrads working on the online content, and I've been using our, UKZN, we've got quite a high budget recording studio, so I've been using that to try and tailor videos, create animations and that sort of stuff. Okay, so And then, just to close this discussion, how do we succeed in this whole concept of reinventing education? I've only just spoken about, course delivery systems. But I think what we really actually just need to do is actually just to begin, to just start trying to make an effort of trying to reimagine education. And we can't focus on doing small changes to different aspects of education. We need to completely overhaul the whole system. So I'm talking, delivery systems, classrooms where the students learn, resource allocation and financing and that sort of stuff. And then I guess, the next step would be for the people who are trying to develop education internationally and nationally is to communicate with each other so that we can try and figure out what is the optimal route to take. And then, from that to teach each other, to teach the students, and also then to learn from each other. So, that's my presentation in a nutshell. So, yeah, thanks for your time.
Katrine, we can't hear you. You want to try again? Ah, okay. Do you want to jump out and come back? No, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry for that.
Okay, go for it.
So, thanks a lot, Justin, for this short but very interesting intro to how we can change things and how to use edX in particular. I don't see questions at the moment, so maybe we go to the next. Let me check it again. The next speaker, and then do the discussion at the end. So our next speaker will be Elne, and she will talk a bit more specific approach, I think, how you guys at West University support teachers, students with video recordings. I hope that's correct. Okay, Elne, please go. Thanks.
Okay, hello everybody. So I'm Elne van Niekerk, and I work for the Center of Teaching and Learning. I just want to quickly open my PowerPoint here. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, it looks fine to me.
Okay, great. Okay, I was specifically asked to talk about the One Button Studio. It's a project that we've been running for almost 3 years now. But before I really get into it, I just want to start by providing a little background to the whole project. So, as with any academic institution, we also have certain keywords or phrases that appear on our performance plan and on our teaching and learning strategy. So these words include the buzzwords that's on everybody's lips. It's blended learning and multimodal learning and online courses, and everyone is talking about community of inquiry, online learning and teaching. Justin gave a few very good examples, and I forgot to actually include gamification on my slide as well. And flipped learning is very prominent at our university at the moment, or at least on our campus. And then the inclusion of multimedia. And then other similar phrases also do jump up from time and again. But
Elne, sorry to interrupt you. Are you showing your slides in presentation mode?
Yes. Should I exit presentation mode?
Unfortunately, do you have any? Are you working on a Mac?
No.
So it wasn't showing in presentation mode just now. I don't know if you want to try just once more.
Otherwise, I'll just work on this. Is this
okay?
fine?
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so those are just some of the phrases that we are constantly being faced with. And with all of this in mind, the Center for Teaching and Learning had to get our ducks in a row. We had to find a way how we are going to support our academic staff who are trying to actually incorporate this in their teaching. So the NWU Teaching and Learning Strategy specifically promotes the use of video for blended learning, and this also created a need for a space where staff can create their videos, but not only staff, eventually students would also have to create their own studios. I'm based on the Van der Bijlpark campus. Let me just show you a picture there. So this is the smallest campus of the three. I think I'm very lucky that I'm on the smallest one. It's much easier to try new projects. We have about 7,000 students on our campus, and we had to find a way to help our lecturers and our students. The problem that we have is because we are the smallest campus, we also have the fewest staff members within the CTL unit on the campus. So the larger campuses have services that they can render with full video studios already set up and a multimedia team that can help them develop their multimedia elements and everything that they might need for their blended learning. But our campus only had 2 people, and 2 people can only do so much. So we knew that we couldn't create videos for everybody. We knew that we will not be able to really deliver everything that our staff needed, and we needed to find a different option for the videos. So in 2015, a colleague of mine went overseas and she attended a conference. I can't remember exactly which one, but she discovered the one-button studio. So this is a concept that was developed by Justin Miller at Penn State University. And the one-button studio is a completely self-service studio that allows staff and students to book online. So they would go on our library website and just make a booking for the time and date that would suit them best. They show up at the studio on the day with their flash drive. The studio is already set up with all of the lighting and everything is already working. So all they will do is they will walk into the studio, insert a flash drive into a USB hub. Then there's a little button. They press the button. There's a countdown of 5 seconds. They start their video. It records. Once they are done with their presentation, they press the button again, and the video is automatically converted and compressed into an MP4 video and saved on the USB drive. So the moment they remove the USB drive from that USB hub, they are walking away with a video ready for distribution. They don't have to worry about the size of the videos to upload it on the LMS because it's already been compressed. So that works really, really well. Penn State also made all of their documentation freely available online. So they give you a shopping list. They tell you exactly how to set up the studio. Everything is there for free. They only ask recognition and that you stay in contact and share your experiences. And I must say I'm very impressed with the whole One Button Studio community. Although Justin Miller did develop the whole concept, and Penn State has around 27 studios on their campus, the rest of the community has really come up and we really help each other, especially if there's something that doesn't work quite the way we want to, or if somebody has a good idea of something else they might want to try, then we all share it there and then we can give each other advice and learn from one another's mistakes. So it's a really great community to also be part of. So we secured the funds, and then we set up the very first One Button Studio in Africa, which we've officially launched in April 2016. So there's our stats for 2016. By the end of April, we had already recorded 312 videos. And we recorded a total of 4,486 videos by the end of 2016. now that is not something that two colleagues would have ever been able to do just on their own. So the following years, the uptake and need for the studios increased. And in 2017, we launched the second studio on our campus in March. So by the end of 2017, we had recorded a total of about, let me just get the numbers right now, 14,068 videos, of which 9,273 videos were longer than 20 seconds, each with an average duration of about 2 minutes per video. So just to explain why I say that, we do realize that people can be very intimidated by camera. So they would start a video and they start talking and then realize, oh no, I made a mistake, and they'll stop. And then they'll start recording again. So we decided we're not going to even take those first few or those short videos into consideration. Sometimes they do just really need 20 seconds to say something, but we don't take that into consideration. We only really look at the videos that are 20 seconds or longer. And then the average time is just to get an idea of how long the videos are that they record.
Nelda, can you hear still?
Can you hear me? Elne, we lost you.
Okay, wait. What was the last thing you heard?
I don't remember. I think you were just away for half a minute.
Okay, so at about 20. Okay, I'm just going to continue, and then if you have questions, then I'll just go back if there's anything else. Okay. So just again, 2017, we recorded about videos, of which 9,200 videos were longer than 20 seconds, and we only really count the longer than 20 seconds because of the small mistakes that people might make. So in 2018, the numbers are very similar. In some cases, some of the things that increased, you'll see the average time of our recorded videos were much longer. And then, what was it here? Yeah, it's just the average time. So we increased the videos, or students and staff increased their video duration to about 4 minutes per video. Okay, so the staff and students really love the studios that we set up on campus, and staff immediately started sending their students to the studio to record presentations. Education lecturers would send their students for micro lessons. Journalism or communication lecturers would send their students to do their interviews, practice their presentation skills. And then marketing, for example, likes to send their students to do their marketing pitches. So the studios were being used for a variety of things, and a lot of the staff members were sending their students to record videos. Initially, we thought we were doing this or creating the studios only for the lecturers who might want to create concept videos to post on the learning management system. But it quickly turned into something much more. It became a very handy tool for them to also save time in class. So instead of having students doing their presentations during class, the students would record it in the studios, and they would have more class time to focus on the course content. So that was the uses there. The problems that we did realize were showing up was that staff were sending their students, but they were not really preparing their students for the studio, and it might also be because the lecturers themselves did not know exactly how to prepare for a studio, and they themselves might not even have ever used the studio before sending their students there. So we quickly realized that staff needed training and guidance to understand what is possible in the studios and what not. They would ask their students to sometimes do things in the studio that is simply not possible. They also needed more support to plan their assignments and to really look at how they give their instructions to the students, because there are very important key technical things that they would just not include or that they did not take into consideration. And something that we were very worried about is that they would give students a rubric for an assignment. And never in the rubric would it say that they take the, that they actually look at the presentation skills in the video. It doesn't actually say that it matters what the students look like in the videos. So they really needed more guidance in that regard. And the students needed support. We have a very large cohort of students who show up at our campus who are unfamiliar with a computer. So usually when they reach me, I would be able to identify the students who struggle to use the learning management system. But with the studios, there wasn't a surefire way to know that they understood the different terms that we were using. Everywhere we have posters, I have to say, just remember to bring your USB drive. But a lot of the students don't know what a USB drive is. They don't know what you mean when you say bring a flash. They don't understand when you say insert the flash drive or the USB drive into the USB hub. They don't know what it is. So it wasn't as simple as the Penn State studios. Penn State said it works fantastic for them because it's completely self-service. But in our case, we couldn't just leave the students because they didn't know. And a lot of the students that we are still getting in, they don't know what these different terms mean. So we do need to offer a lot more support in the studios, especially for the students. Where Penn State only has the studio there and the students book and they show up, we have to have an assistant present to help the students, explain to them what the rules are, explain to them what the different terms mean, to show them where the USB hub is, where you insert it. And once we started helping with that, we realized, okay, but they actually do need more help. They don't know how to create proper PowerPoints, which they want to include on their videos. They don't know how to dress for video. A simple example would be that a student with an already dark complexion would say that they want a dark background and they would dress in all black and wear a hat. And they wouldn't realize how difficult it is to actually find them on the video when they do that. So they really needed a lot of help in that regard as well. And then, of course, there are other smaller things that happened in the studio. In the studio, you have the camera in front of you, and there's another screen that shows what the camera sees, so they can see themselves. The problem was that they kept looking down at the screen. They kept looking down at themselves, and then the video would look funny because they are constantly looking down. So they were not looking at the camera itself. And we needed to make a change to the studio to try and help prevent that from happening, but still allowing them to see the countdown for starting the recording. So that was another small issue that did pop up right in the beginning. Then it was probably halfway through 2016 that we started getting requests for help with video editing. So both staff and students who recorded in the studio wanted to be able to add titles and credits or subtitles to their videos, even if it was just to say it's for this module and it's a welcome video or it's this assignment, whatever the case may be, and to list any group members' names or the students' details on the video. It was impossible. I mean, we could not we could never have created 4,000 videos just with the staff that we had. So we definitely could not do editing on all those videos for them as well. So what we did was to identify a video editing software that is easy to use and not too pricey. We identified Wondershare for Mora, and we decided to buy lifetime licenses. We make it available close to our offices in a computer lab, and the licenses are open for anybody, or anybody can go sit at those computers and do their own video editing. It's the same for staff and students. We do not give preferential treatment to anybody, so it's the same for all. And then we also provide very basic video editing training twice a week, just to help them get started, especially for those who might not be used to or familiar with the whole editing environment. So what have we learned? We have learned that we do need to work with different support units, and we need to have a lot more collaboration between different departments on the campuses. So student academic development and support, we had to ask them to start helping us to provide students with the training that they need, how to create proper PowerPoints. We had to ask them to start helping with the video editing training because we just simply couldn't keep up with the demand. And then to help them with any of the accompanying soft skills that they would need in order for us to really say that we are delivering graduates that are ready for the workplace. So the collaboration between the different departments, that is really, really important. And then also for things like marketing, we had to work with the radio station, for example, to start marketing the studios. And it was very handy to know the people at the radio station to help us whenever we had problems with our microphones or any questions about the sound. Then we could also press on their button to help us because we didn't have any other technical support. One of the biggest challenges is probably to find a home for the facility. The Penn State's recommendation was that it should be located within a library environment. So that's what we did, especially because our offices are also based in the library on our campus. But it's not the responsibility of the library, because it is simply too technical. It requires academic advice. It requires technical support, things that the library staff are not equipped to do. Well, and it's not part of their job descriptions. It requires a lot of planning and support structures when the expansions are necessary, especially if the service is situated within a Center for Teaching and Learning unit. We currently have to expand, but we are not sure how we're going to do that because we don't have enough staff to offer the support that is needed. If it is situated within a faculty, which was a suggestion that we move it to a faculty-based service, we are running into a scenario where we will not have any guarantee, or we won't be sure if the concept is run or managed according to the intended use. And it might also still require quite a lot of support, which we also are not sure how the faculty will address that. So the question is, there is no clear-cut solution at the NWU at the moment. The question is, who's going to take responsibility for these studios and who's going to keep it running, especially if we are not going to get more staff to help us. And then how much support lies within a Center for Teaching and Learning? We are very concerned about our students especially when we see that they create really, well, bad, or I probably shouldn't say bad, but just PowerPoints that are not suited for a screen or for a video, that they're not properly informed of what is expected of them when they do create videos. We get worried when we get a lecturer who might not be properly prepared for recording their videos, and they need extra time, which we cannot always guarantee. So is that really the problem for the Center for Teaching and Learning? We are not sure. We don't know if that is supposed to be our problem. Perhaps the Center for Teaching and Learning should just offer the technical support. But if we do that, what would we do when we do identify problems? We are wondering at the moment if we should say that the technical team should keep any of the academic advisors or academic developers informed every time a new module code or a new lecturer sends students to the studio, or if we see that there are academic staff booking the studio for themselves, and then ask the academic developers to contact and perhaps give them a little more guidance to make sure that they are using the videos or the studios correctly. But is that our work? Is that what we are supposed to do? We don't know. We don't know if we are overstepping. We don't know how far we should stay involved, and when we should just give this resource and leave staff and see what happens. So these are all still questions. We are in our third year now, running these studios. We have to set up more studios, and we are not sure how we're going to handle it all. But we're taking it as it comes, and we're trying to make the best of it. And we're hoping in the process that our staff and students do get a benefit from this resource that we have put there for them. Okay, that's all. One has any questions?
Thanks, Elne. That was very interesting, and actually although there are some problems, but I think the numbers you told us of how many videos were recorded and how people actually started using the studio are very, very positive, I think, and very, very great looking forward. Okay, questions, discussion. Maybe I think we are quite a mixed group of the participants. No, so remember, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand by putting a /hand in the chat. You can do that either in the video chat or in the Etherpad chat. I'm going to share the slide again with the link to the Etherpad. And you can also type your questions in the chat windows or on the Etherpad.
I think there are questions, or there's a question there for me. Are the studios also available at the other campuses? So we set up the two studios on the Pringle campus. There is one studio that we set up on the Mafeking campus last year, at the beginning of 2018. So they are in the swing of things now over there, and they also are planning another studio. And then on the Potchefstroom campus, we have all of the equipment. The problems that we are facing at the moment is venues. We are really struggling to find spaces on the campus, or on the 3 campuses, to install more studios. Hopefully with some of the extensions that are planned, there will be more space available, and then we can start installing. Thanks.
I just want to give Justin also a quick chance, because the load shedding might kick in. I just want to know, Justin, so how did you actually record videos? You shortly said that you used the UKZN studio that's now available, but I know you did it before that on your own. Could you quickly tell us how you did it actually?
Yeah, so I did just type a reply on the Etherpad. So just in short, I first, so we knew we wanted to run edX. So edX have a course on how to run a course, which is cool. So in there they give a bunch of ideas on how to do stuff. But really, in short, so for the math systems course that I ran, because it's a mathematical course, it was quite easy to film using my iPad and an Apple Pen. So that's a resource we had to buy. So luckily, we had some research grant money available. So look, we haven't had much support from the university. It's been pretty tough. So we've had to use, like for example, our own research grants to buy like the iPad and Apple Pen. And then, I could record that. Although in terms of university support, it does seem to be changing. Okay, I just see your message now. When our load shedding kicks in, Catherine, I'll run to your office and join the conversation. Yeah, so I was just using, for the math systems, I was using my built-in camera for the Mac if I needed to just, briefly outline something, and then I was using the iPad. So, but just something I didn't mention, so, because I was talking more holistically, when we build these courses, I think I brushed over it, it's not a 45-minute lecture, it's like a 5-minute maximum, 5-7 minutes, where the person would introduce the concept to the students, and then the students would then work through interactive units. If you're interested, I can show you what a course would look like on edX. So I can do that if you want.
Yes, and I found it quite interesting that if you want, or if you don't get much support, you actually can also build things on your own. But of course, it takes a lot of time, but it can work. I see Elne is typing some more response as well, but I wanted to ask the audience, I know there's some people there from Northwest University, I think. Is there by any chance anybody who has used that one-button studio and maybe wants to tell how that worked? Tell us how that worked? Okay, unfortunately, no one wants to share experience. Or does anybody in the audience has used video for lecture, or experiences on the other side was in a lecture where a video was used, like or watched an online course? Okay, nobody wants to give the comment.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
So to Elne or to Justin, video editing remains one of my biggest problems because, for example, these conversations have been recorded, and I have hours and hours of useful talks by people who have participated in the Rural Campuses Connection project. But I don't want to make the videos available because, as you've now seen in the call, there's often, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, you've connected. And I would like to cut that out. Do you have any advice about how to, or who to get to do your video editing on a small budget, or how to do it yourself? I don't know who wants to go.
I can answer that if that's cool. Well, part of the answer, I guess. So I just use the iMovie thing on Mac, and also Adobe Premiere Pro. But I have a video photographic background, so pretty well versed in that sort of stuff. But the iMovie editing stuff is pretty easy to work with. So if you have an Apple, that's great.
Not very useful.
That's probably a typical Apple person's response, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not very useful.
But thank you very much. So for those of you in the audience with Macs, there you go. Elne, do you maybe have something different?
Like I said, the software that we identified that worked very well for us, and it's available for Mac and Windows, is Wondershare Filmora. It's really very easy to use. We did look at other free softwares that were available, but we did find that sometimes it would be difficult to export the videos the way you want to and so on. So Wondershare Filmora is quite a cheap software that you can download. And they have a lot of good tutorial videos that show you how you can just remove small parts of your video. And that is what I actually use for my own things as well. So we have webinars that we host throughout the semester or throughout the year for our staff. Then we would record those webinars, and I already have my Filmora template set up. So the moment the webinar is done, we just take that video, throw it into Filmora, just cut those small parts where we know there were issues, and we export to MP4. It takes me less than half an hour to finish up a video and have it uploaded on the LMS. So that's one software that I can really recommend.
Okay, I've put the link to that software on the Etherpad for other people who might be interested as well.
Thanks, Elne. And Donovan had a question of whether academic staff from the Northwest University is able to obtain a license key for Wondershare Filmora.
Yes, so at the moment, Donovan, unfortunately not. We buy the licenses in packages, and we make that available in a central location, so we can make it available to staff and students. But what we do have happening on our campus, once you have a license somewhere, you can work on the trial version and then just use the licensed version to publish. So what a lot of the lecturers on our campus do is they use a trial version team, save it as a Wondershare Filmora file, then they'll bring that, or the package with all of their videos and the Wondershare Filmora file to our offices, and they just use our license to open the video, make sure everything is fine, and then they export it to MP4. So that's the easiest way that we could make it available to a large group of people. Because the service is within CTL, not with IT, and we do have limited funds. We don't really have access to a lot of funds to make licenses available to everybody at the university. So that was the easiest way that we could see how we can help everybody with a license.
Okay, thank you. Does this answer the question, Donovan, or do you want to know more about that? Good.
Thank you very much, Kasim and Elne. That answers the questions. I have the software, but obviously after the trial version expired, I couldn't export the videos or publish the videos. So I've played around on the software, but if that's the case, I can easily just send or bring the edited videos to you for download or for publication. Thanks, Elne.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Then there was a comment by Lebo. He said that he wants to use it this year, or I think this year. Do you have a question, maybe, since you got Elne here, or do you want to quickly tell us how you want to include it in your module, Lebo, or you just wanted to make? Okay. Okay, I'm not sure. I can't. Then that's the comment. That's fine. Good luck with using the video in your lecture. More questions or comments? You asked what I had. I had another question. Yes, Elne, I had another question about advertising. I think you wrote a little bit. I didn't have time to read it, but I was just wondering, because what I often see at UKZN, there are also the messages coming around from support staff from the different, like teaching and learning or IT, and they announce that they have a new tool, and that's about it. So they invite the community to use it, but they don't take any further steps. I'm wondering, did you actually go to the different departments actively and say, here, let me tell you what we have or show you, or did you have different strategies? You also said something about a radio station. I wasn't quite clear what this means. Could you just say a few more things about that? Thank you.
So just with the radio station, we tried to work closely with the radio station on campus. So we got their experts to help us with the sound in the studio, but then we also kind of paid them back by giving them material for their shows. So I did put it on the page, but for the One Button Studios, we had a weekly talk where we sent one of our assistants. We would use that opportunity to focus on any of the issues that we've identified in the studio. So if we realize that this week a lot of education studios are showing up, but they are not properly prepared, or they forgot to inform us that they need a whiteboard, or they want to include a whiteboard and a PowerPoint slide or PowerPoint show and other things in their video, then we would advise them that, you know, it's a bit difficult to have so many things when you have a limited space, and we would advise how they could rather approach a session like that. And that we did in
Did we lose Elne, or?
Frozen for me.
Okay.
We'll probably come back to now. Might be load shedding as well. Yeah, it might be load shedding. I noticed a few people dropped around 12.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. We have Justin Beck. He's in my office. Any more questions for? Oh, I invite you questions for Justin. Do you want stuff?
I have a question for Adele in relationship to what Justin has been doing. If researchers and faculty come across tools that they want to bring to the attention of support, and if Elne joins again, then maybe she might want to answer this as well. How do you propose someone take these suggestions to a support environment so that these kind of tools can be institutionalized? Are there specific procedures for encouraging researchers or academic staff or students to suggest ideas to support staff? Or I know that there's always the push and the pull between support and academia. And I'm just thinking with what Justin has done, it seems very reasonable and useful, but I know at the same time in that support environment at UKZN, some people might have been doing other things that they might want to prioritize above supporting edX, and that might be why he hasn't been getting the full support. But how can we bridge this communication and collaboration between academia and support? Do you have any ideas? And just maybe for background, I don't know if Adele will be able to talk to us, but
I will.
Great. So Adele is in the IT department at Northwest University.
Hi everyone. I think what we do at the NWU is we have forums where we talk to academia and also to CTL. I think it is like different layers of support that we give to the academia. I think CTL is a bit closer to the academics. is a bit closer to the academics and work with IT very closely. So in that way, we catch needs that are out there. There are also other projects in faculty that IT are involved in. And from that point, we get the needs of the academics. I think an issue is that very often when things start in the faculties, they only look at their own needs, and IT has to look at the whole of the university to support things that can scale and so forth. And that sometimes causes the tension, the push and pull thing. But I think communication and collaboration and forums like these, I think actually will help a lot. I hope that answers your question, Anelda.
Thanks, Anelda.
Thanks for that. What else can we do?
I think if there's no more questions or comments, then we could wrap it up, because we normally add more time for the meeting in case there's technical difficulties. So if we're done, we're done. But if people want to talk, then...
Justin had one more comment. You wanted to, I think, comment on the last thing. So I hand over to Justin for one more comment.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on what Adele was saying. So I mean, I think UKZN is quite a specific place, but you know, and like Anelda, what you guys are doing with the carpentry stuff is probably at a grassroots level pretty important. So what we find at UKZN is our support staff are not actually really support staff, and they can only do Windows sort of based operations, and they're pretty limited. So you know, what I've found is obviously knowing how to use Unix and Linux and the terminal and all that sort of stuff is the route to being able to solve this. So for example, when I got hold of and also people are overworked, right? Support staff well, they overworked, but so they see anything that you bring to them as more of a frustration than which is a pity. But like I was just thinking, when I contacted our lady who heads up our server for Moodle, she was completely against this whole idea, and I think it was because she didn't know how to use terminal, so she and Unix based operations. So for her, she perceived it as if it was a condescending type of conversation rather than a constructive one, even though, I was coming from the point of view, hey, I just need somebody else to help me work with this type of approach. So, yeah, I think communication is key, and I think patience, especially from the academics side.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I think in the times that I've been involved in universities, the conversation between academia and what we typically term support is so critical, and I hope that forums like these conversations, online conversations, and other platforms where academia and support gets to mingle will help to build those bridges.
Okay, thanks. So there's one last chance to ask you a question or give your comment.
I was just thinking, we use there's another video editing software which you could use called Blender. So I think that's free, right? That's open source, but it is a bit of a learning curve, but nothing impossible to get done. So I think Blender. I think Katrine's. Are you looking for a link now?
I will do this.
Okay. Kat will send the link later. Sorry, I'm micromanaging.
Yeah, thanks, Justin, for remembering that. I actually also didn't remember Blender. It's a very great tool. Oh, thanks for copying the link in, Anelda. You can also do animations. Blender is, I think, really great if you know how to use it. But I don't know yet, but okay. Okay, thanks again to the speakers. Thanks to Elne for taking the time, and thanks to Justin. I think it was really interesting to see two different technologies and from two different perspectives. And thanks for everybody who joined the meeting. Although of the ongoing load shedding and some connection issues around video, but I think it was great to have quite a big group today. So look out for future invitations, because we're going to do a few more sessions in the next few weeks. And yeah, then I wish you a good day, a good week, and see you next time.
Good thing. So
yes.
The next talk that has been confirmed is specifically about marketing services, bridging the conversation between the service providers at universities and the end users. So those might be more targeted at people who have service offerings and want to make users aware of it. And our speakers will be I've forgotten now, a lady from DHET, the European NREN, and Hastings Njewo from Ubuntu Connect. And I'm going to paste the link to that sign up and more information in the Etherpad. I'm not very good with talking and typing at the same time. So I'll paste that in there. So if you want to create awareness of this or tell other service departments about the opportunity to learn from other people's lessons about marketing services and connecting with your end users, that might be an interesting one for you.
Thanks for the specifics, Elne. And yeah, just a reminder, so the Etherpad will be still available also after this event, so you can we put some notes there. There are some links to the resources we talked about today, so you can come back to that. And this call was recorded, so I think that will also be available at some point in time. Okay, great. Then yeah, I think I say goodbye. Nelda, anything else? Or
nope.
Wrap it up.
Okay. Very much. I think it was great. Thanks everybody. Thanks for your participation and your questions. And thanks Vanele for the technical support.
Yes, thanks a lot, Vanele. It was really important to have you on board. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.